The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to Mental Health Now. I'm your host, Matthew Shapiro from NAMI, New York State. Before we start on today's topic, I wanted to give our viewers a happy update. A few episodes ago, we focused on the need to integrate mental health education into schools. I'm thrilled to report that earlier this week, one of the bills we discussed on the show, which would incorporate mental health education into schools' existing health education courses, passed both houses of our legislature. This is a major victory for mental health advocates and, more importantly, to the students across New York State who desperately need this sort of education. We want to thank the Assembly and the Senate for realizing the importance of this issue, and to all our viewers and grassroots members who made their voice heard on this issue. Once again, this demonstrates what we talk about so often on this show, and that hope truly does start with you. And that brings us to today's episode, where we're going to discuss the way all of our viewers can help raise hope and raise awareness throughout the capital region. And that's through the NAMI New York State's NAMI Walks, which is going to be taking place September 24th in Albany at the Jennings Landing, which is in the Corning Preserve. So, with me today to talk about the walk and all that NAMI does in the community is NAMI's Executive Director, Wendy Burch, and our walk manager, Heide Garner. So welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you.
It's a little underwhelming for them. They have to see me every day, but we get to put our coworkers on the hot seat, so that's a good thing. So Heidi, I want to start with you. Can you just give us a little bit details of the walk and what it's going to be and everything like that?
Sure. Well, as you had said, it's September 24th. It'll be at Jennings Landing. Registration is actually starting at 9 a.m. Mm-hmm. The walk itself will kick off at 10. Mm-hmm. And we should be, the walk itself it's listed as a 5K, but it's actually probably about 2 miles long. So.
And this is important to note, because like a lot of things that we talk about here at NAMI, we want it to be as inclusive as possible. So I think sometimes when people hear walks like this, they think it's a run or a race, but it's just a walk. There's no competitiveness to it, right? Right.
This is literally just a walk. It doesn't matter what level of health you're at or your age or any of that. We're not competing against each other. We're actually standing up with each other, rather.
And that's so important. That, again, with a lot of things that NAMI does, it's people supporting people who've been impacted by mental illness supporting other people. And we're going to get into more NAMI's programs in a minute, but just a couple more housekeeping questions. So this is the first time we're going to be holding a walk here in the capital region, but there have been NAMI Walks across New York that our affiliates have held, correct?
Correct. NAMI Walks is actually this is the 14th year that NAMI Walks program has been around, and it is held throughout the nation. I believe it's 6 other locations in New York State, and I may not be 100% on that have walks. Is it 4? Because I thought, okay.
Right, we've had them.
My fault.
New York City, Long Island, Westchester, and Rochester are the 4 sites.
I think with Austin, there's one more that okay. So there's 4 now. Hopefully there'll be 2 more. It's at this point, NAMI Walks itself has raised over $3 million in revenue to help us continue our programs.
So Wendy, I mean, really, it's doubly important, the walk. I mean, we talk about the awareness, and it's so important because obviously they say 1 in 5 people are going to be diagnosed with a mental illness. I think that number is low, but be that as it may, but 100% of us are going to have mental health issues that we deal with at some point of our lives. But stigma still keeps a lot of people from seeking out help and admitting they have a problem, correct?
Absolutely. Every time some kind of public crisis happens, people are always blaming someone with a mental illness, when in reality, people with a mental illness are more apt to be victims of violence than perpetrated, and also people are see it as a weakness, and it's not. It's a disease like any other, and as long as a person seeks treatment, they have the chance to recover and live a full life, even as they're living with a chronic condition like that.
Right. And actually, NAMI plays such a big role in helping both, as we talked about in the past, families living with with a loved one with a mental illness, and people who've had mental illnesses and accepted it and live fulfilling lives. Heidi, I mean, your story kind of falls into that place too. Can you want to tell us a little bit about your background with mental health and how NAMI's helped you?
Absolutely. I grew up in a generation where you didn't talk about mental illness. You didn't have mental illness. It didn't exist. You were shy. You were anything but mentally ill. So I grew up hiding the fact that I was mentally ill very, very well. I faked my way through the majority of my life. I actually suffer from generalized anxiety disorder with panic attacks, and 6 years ago it got to the point where I was agoraphobic. Leaving my house was an impossibility. I finally found treatment and got the help that I needed. And since I found NAMI, I've started, I actually took the provider education training, and I am currently taking peer-to-peer. And I also got to sit through a Inner Own Voice presentation, which actually inspired me to start sharing my story. And in July, I'm going to start taking training to become an Inner Own Voice presenter. So it's actually given me the opportunity to speak openly about my mental illness, rather than, faking my way through it and saying everything's great when it's really not. So.
And I think when you hear Heidi's story, what if she'd been able to get, help so much earlier? She struggled for years and years, and finally was able to get help, and now she's doing amazing things for us at NAMI, putting our walk together. So
right, and it just shows in the importance of the walk and the awareness. And a couple episodes ago, we discussed the ribbon campaign, and that really went a long way to raising awareness. But this is going to be even a bigger, maybe spectacle's not the right word, but event. And it's so important that people see. Someone like a younger Heidi who might have been struggling and afraid to talk about, but people coming together around this issue and showcasing that people have mental illness and that people that have mental illness can live productive lives. And the walk obviously goes a long way to doing that, but as Heidi mentioned, so does NAMI programs, both for families and individuals. You and I are going to talk about the family programs in a second, but Heidi, you mentioned a couple. I want to go into a little bit more detail so people know what we're talking about. First, you mentioned our peer-to-peer course. Can you talk a little bit about that and what it is and how it's helped you?
Sure. It's the name pretty much kind of describes what it is, because it's an individual living with mental illness. It's actually two that teach other individuals who are living with mental illness coping skills, and that it's okay to talk, and how to handle situations. And it also kind of reminds you that even though we're not all mental illnesses are the same, we have a lot more in common than we don't. And it gives you, one of the classes you actually share your story, and it's very freeing. It also validates everything that you've been through, because most of us, at least in the class that I'm in, we didn't talk about it, and a lot of us, this is our first time where it's new to us.
Let me ask, I'm just interested. What's the age range in the class? You get people of all ages?
Honestly, from all ages, from college age through, we have an individual who's retired. So it's really very, very diverse. And each one of us have our own mental illness. There really isn't a lot where there aren't a lot of us that share a mental illness, if that's the best way I can put it, which in itself is kind of amazing in the sense that you learn so much about what other people have gone through with different diagnoses.
In a lot of ways, it's like holding up a mirror to yourself.
It really is, because you see how much alike we really all are, but different diagnosis for everyone.
And you said, so there are classes. How many classes are in the peer-to-peer course?
It's actually 10 classes. They're 2 hours long. This particular one, it's only being held one night a week, so it'll be 10 weeks that we'll
And
go.
that's right here in the Capital Region.
It is. It's actually at Samaritan Hospital in Troy.
And they've become a great partner, actually. Wendy, we were talking about some of the programs we have for people living with a mental illness, but both you and I are family members, and we've both taken the peer-to-peer class. You also, the family-to-family class, which you took at Samaritan as well.
Yep.
You know, talk a little bit about your experience with that.
I have a close loved one with a mental illness, and I never, even having worked for NAMI for a couple of years, I'd never taken the course, and I didn't always communicate the best with her, and so this class is a 12-week course, and it does delve into a little bit about the way the brain works, which you would think maybe sounds a little dry, but it's not, and we are able to share our stories as well. And then not only does it go into coping techniques, but also communication techniques, so you can communicate with your loved one better and really help them through the illness and help yourself too. I mean, family members, especially caregivers, they become burned out, and it becomes more and more difficult to help their loved ones. So it's not just the illness is now affecting not just one person, but a whole family.
Right.
And so this class really helps you to navigate that, learn the mental health system a little bit better, so you can help your loved one and really, have the family and the friends and the network be able to live full lives, basically.
And importantly, too, it teaches you how to be an advocate, both for yourself as a caregiver and for your loved one. A lot of times when someone's in the middle of being sick, they can't advocate for themselves, or it's even the way NAMI kind of got formed was that families kept getting pushed to the side, and we really needed to learn how to advocate for ourselves, and that we do play an important part in the recovery team, right?
Right. Oftentimes, your family member, when they're, at their lowest point, they cannot speak for themselves. They have to depend on someone close to them to help them with that. And I should point out too, these classes that we're offering are free to the public.
Well, and I was going to get to that, and that's the important part. And again, any sort of caregiver can take a family-to-family course or a family support group, whether it's a parent, a child, a sibling, a spouse, even a friend. A lot of times the friends are caregivers. So, like Wendy said, all of the courses, all our signature programs are offered at no cost to the public. We never want finances to be an obstacle, and that's getting back to the walk, why the awareness is important, but obviously raising the funds is very important as well, because that's what enables us to offer all these programs at no cost, right?
Yeah, I was just going through over some statistics from last year, and in the state of New York alone, we taught the family-to-family class to about 1,000 people. I think over 1,000 people. So, we're really reaching a lot of people, and which is wonderful. We're training more people to do the classes, but when that happens, we've got to find funding streams to help us to put them on. So, so that's why, as you say, Matthew, the awareness piece is so huge, but it's also a fundraiser, and if we can raise money to be able to continue our programming, whether it's classes like family to family and peer to peer, or presentations like In Our Own Voice, which really, Heidi's mentioned In Our Own Voice, and that's a program where people living with mental illness, they go out and they tell their story from, when it started and their lowest point to being on the road to recovery. And, when they're telling their story to people with mental illness, it offers that hope that recovery is possible. And then when they're telling it to just the general public, it gives people an understanding of how stigmatizing mental illness is, and really gives them an understanding that it's not something to be afraid of. We're all people, and we're all equal.
And that's just it. We're all people, and we're all equal. And something you hear a lot too in NAMI is that families need support too. A lot of times when you have a loved one who has a disease, you hear this analogy a lot. If the loved one has cancer or something else that's terrible, the community runs to support them. But when they hear that it's a mental illness, the community runs away from them. And that's something we're really trying to change people's minds of. And the walk is also a great opportunity to have families stand together with their extended families and their friends and their networks and show that we do support each other. And it goes such a long way, and the symbolism, I think, is very important.
Yeah, and the day of the walk, even if you don't have a connection to mental illness, I would say come on out, because there's going to be information there, and it's a lot of fun. There's going to be entertainment, music. It's really a place for the community to come together.
And like we said, 1 in 5 people are going to be impacted directly by mental illness, but we all have mental health challenges. Absolutely. We all deal with stress. We all deal with anger. We all deal with depression at some point or another, grief, stress. So, and there will be a health fair too at the Jennings Landing. If people aren't familiar with Jennings Landing, it's gone through a few names over the years. Heidi and I were talking about this for the show. You might know it as the Corning Preserve, or it's where the Live at 5 was the last few years. I know they're actually doing some work getting it ready for the walk, right?
Are.
So it's not there this year, but it is right on the riverfront. It's a gorgeous location. There will be tents and exhibits set up for all sorts of health needs and mental health needs, and we say this all the time, you can't have physical health without mental health. So it's so important. So like Wendy said, so the walk is open to everyone. You don't have to be a NAMI member, you don't have to be living with a mental illness, you don't have to have a family member living with a mental illness. But hey, can you tell people how they can get involved in the walk and the different ways people can get active on this?
Absolutely. Anyone who wants to get out there and wants to help with the walk and wants to participate, the biggest way you can do that is by creating teams or joining the walk. Again, it's not a race, so it's really anyone at any age, any fitness level can do it. By creating teams, you're helping us. Yes, you're helping us with funding, but you're also saying that, that you're taking a stand. You want to stomp out stigma. You want to be part of that awareness. So that's probably the biggest thing that individuals can do is join.
Right.
Join the movement, so to speak.
Yeah,
Join the
we'll
movement.
get moving. And I know we have a poster here, but we also have one here with all the information for it. And anyone who wants to learn more about the walk can go right to our website, which is www.NAMI-NYS.org.
Correct.
And you'll be able to find a link for the walk right there. Now, obviously, having participants are very important. Now, if someone is watching this and they may not live in the Capital District, they could still participate, correct?
Absolutely. You can donate. You can walk as a virtual walker. You can create a virtual team. You can even just spreading the word. Telling your coworkers, telling your friends, telling your family members. There are a ton of different ways that you can help. But if you're not in the Capital District, even if you just wanted to donate, it would be a huge help.
Right.
It would go a long way.
And you mentioned something I think is important too, just talking about it to your coworkers or to your friends. Again, talking about the walk is talking about mental health. It's spreading awareness, and again, that's so important. And one of the big logos here is I am stigma free, and that's so important. And letting family, coworkers, neighbors know that I am stigma free, and I support people and families that are impacted by mental illness. It really goes such a long way. And you mentioned one of the key phrases that we're using, which is stomping out stigma one step at a time, which is so important. And one of my other favorite things that kind of is along with the walk, and this one's very personal to me. I think I've mentioned this before on the show. When I was younger and had mental health issues, and my grandfather was probably the biggest influence on my life. And I remember him taking me aside one day and explaining to me that I know it seems like your journey is very, very long and arduous, because there's an old Asian proverb that says the longest journey starts with the smallest step, and that's so true. So it says right here is one of our phrases for the walk. Every journey begins with that first step, and we're really hoping that people. It's a long journey to end stigma, but we can all take those first steps together. And as well as walkers, there are ways that, other people can get involved too. And we're always looking, obviously, for businesses as well. So can you talk a little bit, either one of you, about the opportunities for businesses to get involved?
Absolutely. Businesses can get involved by creating corporate teams, which can be larger teams. They bring in more revenue. They allow you to really get out there and say, that I am stigma-free. But another way that they can help is through sponsorship. We have all different levels of sponsorship from, $250 to and up. The nice thing about that for businesses is that with the sponsorship, we add you to our T-shirt, we add you to, we add the business to our T-shirts, to our promotional items. It gives the business a chance to get some extra promotion, but at the same time, they're saying, I support this. This is something I feel passionate about.
And like we saw with the ribbon campaign, I think this is a very big point too for businesses and everyday kind of places where people intersect every day, is that having a ribbon or saying that you're supporting the walk, and for businesses to put up one of our posters, it's showing that mental illness is okay to talk about. We can have this in everyday conversations. Maybe I see a sign like this or a ribbon when I go to my dry cleaner, for instance, and ask questions or see that it's okay to talk about these things. Or maybe you're someone who was just looking for help or hope and didn't know where to find it. And it doesn't cost businesses anything to put a poster up, and that can really do a lot of good too.
Absolutely, and as Matthew said, that is a great way to do it. Anyone who's willing to put up a poster, we'd be willing to get them to you. So it's something that would definitely help and bring that awareness that we're looking for. And
again, anyone can contact Heidi or learn more about the walk. We've given you our website. I know it'll be on graphic at the end, www.NAMI-NYS.org. But you could also feel free to call Heidi or any one of us at 518-462-2000 to learn more about the walk or get involved. In the past, we talked about how there have been other walks around the state, too. And a big part of the success, and we kind of talked a little bit about this at the top of the show, is getting schools involved. So there are a lot of opportunities for schools to get involved in the walk. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Again, we're going to go back to teams.
Right.
School teams can be larger. They can bring in a lot of donations, but the biggest thing is it allows them to tell the younger generation, to tell their generation that it's okay to talk about mental health, to talk about mental illness. There are opportunities for people to come and volunteer, and that's a really great thing when you look at it in terms of schools. It gives the younger generation, I hate saying it that way, the younger generation an opportunity to volunteer for a great cause and to come out and let their friends know, maybe they have a friend struggling, maybe it's a parent that doesn't, grew up in a generation like I did where they don't want to talk about it. And by coming out and doing that, doing the walk, volunteering, creating a team, it just gives them that opportunity to say it's okay, and we would, we understand.
Right, and it's interesting. Two of the other kind of catchphrases or kind of social media things that we've been using that were started by different NAMI affiliates were the hashtag I will listen and the hashtag I am acceptance, and that's so important that you're letting people know just by participating that not only are you stigma free, but you're here, you're willing to accept people, you're willing to listen to people. That's so important. And in schools, just like you say, peers supporting peers, and you say the younger generation, I use this, I say this a lot too, that I really do feel this is the generation that's going to debunk the stigma of mental health issues and mental illness. They're more aware of things, and it just seems they're more willing to talk about things, I think, social media, so that's very exciting. So we certainly hope that all the local schools will be getting involved, and both of your children have teams so far, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So I know Wendy has a high schooler who's going to be starting a team, and yours are in college.
Yes, they are.
They don't look old enough to have kids in college, but hey, God bless it. So it's good, and that really is going to help. And down the road, our next couple episodes too, we're going to talk more about mental health in school as we get through the summer and get ready for the new school year. So we really hope that schools do get involved. Something else that we've talked a lot about on the show is forming recovery teams. So the person living with a mental illness, their their family members and their doctors and providers working together as one with a shared mission, open communication. And that kind of works here for the walk too. So there are ways that doctors and hospitals can get involved too, correct?
Absolutely, and it's a fantastic example. If they that you had just given, if providers can get involved through their clients if they want to. They can do it as a support for their clients, as family members they can pet. The biggest thing they can do, though, is pass along that information to the clients, to the family members, to the individuals living with mental illness.
And that's both about letting them know that NAMI programs are available there for free, as well as the walk.
As well as the walk.
Right, and little things too. I mean, obviously, we would love all doctors and hospitals to sponsor teams too, but having a walk, having the poster in their offices, having the palm cards out in waiting rooms, letting people know it's there is so important, and can go a long way. Because again, all the things that we offer are free. And Wendy, you could talk about this. I think sometimes with nonprofits, they think fundraisers like this really just pad administrative costs, but that's certainly not the case at NAMI. I mean, most of our money goes right back out into the community, correct?
Exactly. We've got our programs, obviously. We do our big educational conference in November, which is this year, November 11th, 12th, and 13th. And that, I'm sure, Matthew, you could talk a lot about, better than I could about it. But, you know, we have all kinds of topics relating to mental illness that are presented at our conference, and we do focus tracks for children and for veterans. In fact, this year it's on Veterans Day, so we'll be doing something particularly special for that. Criminal justice, a young adult track, a wellness track, because wellness is so important too. So it's a really great conference, and you know, but we do need to raise money so we can put it on. We do, you know, offer a lot of scholarships to people whenever possible.
I mean, last year I think we gave almost 100 scholarships, full scholarships to people, both college students and people living with a mental illness and family. Because as we said, we don't ever want finances to be a barrier for NAMI programs and NAMI support. You know, people living with mental illnesses or impact, they face too many barriers every day, and NAMI doesn't want to put up any more barriers. So really the reason we're able to do all this is through these fundraising endeavors. I mean, we work on a very tight budget. People say all the time that it's amazing that we do so much with such a small staff, but you know, again, we're lucky we have great affiliate leaders and people who run the programs, but to keep these programs going locally, we do need the support. It's so important, right?
It absolutely is. And you know, we also do a lot of advocacy with the legislature. More at the state level, but some federal and certainly local, and you know, bringing our members up, our supporters up to advocate for these really important bills and for budgeting for better mental health services. I mean, that's an important part of what we do too.
Right, and this has actually been, just touch on at the beginning of the show too, a very great legislative session for us. We've had several victories: the school bill, the Paid Family Leave Act, which is so important. So really, it is the support of that, of people and donations that help us project our advocacy voice. We're almost out of time, but just if people need any other incentive, if you know, supporting a program, an organization like NAMI that helps so many people isn't enough, there'll be all sorts of prizes too for people. And I know you have one of them right here. The kind of, if anyone watches Survivor, like Wendy and I do, it's kind of like a buff that the Survivor contestants get. So that's just one of the little giveaways that we're going to have.
This is one of our really cool recognition prizes, because you can make it into a ton of different things.
So kind of like NAMI, it might look small, but can do a lot.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, a great metaphor to end with today. And as we are pretty much out of time, I want to thank both of you for being here and organizing this important thing. And again, I really urge all our viewers to take the next step. If you enjoyed our show, if you enjoy what we're talking about, if you want to learn more about mental health, come down on September 24th to Jennings Landing and participate in the walk. It's going to be a beautiful day along the river, and you're really sending such a strong message. And as we talk about all the time on this show, hope truly starts with you. So thank you, and we'll see you next time, and we'll see you at the walk.